Do you ever feel like there's more to the story than the one being sold to the masses? Dominic asked, scanning their surroundings and looking from one person to another, observing everything. Dominic pointed to the Washington Monument towering before them. That structure, do you know what it is? It's an obelisk, Dominic said, coming to a stop. A pagan one at that. Pointing back to ancient Egypt and the sun god Ra. It represents an ancient power that existed for millennia and has been perpetuated from generation to generation by organizations that have a specific destiny for everyone. Have you ever questioned the world around you? Asked yourself if things are truly as you've been told? Of course, hasn't everyone? Not really. Do you believe Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated President Kennedy, and terrorists are solely responsible for taking down the Twin Towers on 9/11? Because if so, I have some land to sell you. I'm not sure what you're getting at, Rick confessed. There's more to American history than what's written in the books, and if people believe that men walked on the moon, they'll believe anything, Dominic expounded, pointing up to the barely visible moon in the sky. One small lie for man, one giant deception for mankind. Another riddle, Rick said. You see, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The masses will believe almost anything they hear and see on television. People are too busy with sports, social media, celebrity gossip, and the latest toys to notice what's really going on. Rick glanced up at the moon, which appeared translucent against the clear sky. Regarding the things you mentioned, JFK, 9/11, the lunar landings, I have no reason not to believe any of those things happened exactly as history records. On the contrary, you have every reason. We were indoctrinated to accept everything presented to us from the time we were born. The engineers made certain that the entire system was controlled. Why? To hide the truth. We've all been deceived in one way or another, lied to for their purposes. Lied to about what? Who really killed President Kennedy? That's just the tip of the iceberg. It goes deeper than that, much deeper. If I were to tell you how far it goes, and you begin to do your own investigation, I guarantee you that life will never be the same for you again. Rick doubted the words, but put on his best poker face. Studying the primary folder, it was evident that all of the contents stored upon the device were locked. Rick could access the information, but nothing further. There was no way to transfer, edit, or delete any of the files. He figured this was unimportant compared to the task at hand, the amount of information far too massive to consume by mere casual reading. From what he knew so far, some of the files outlined and broke down every major conspiracy theory in American history, and then some. It connected the dots and explained the supposed cover-ups in great detail. Progressing, Rick accessed a file containing detailed information on secret societies and the Illuminati, which he still doubted the existence of. He shook his head from side to side, humoring himself. Yeah, right, Rick whispered with a chuckle. One section detailed a collection of strange symbols. Opening another folder, Rick found the information more esoteric and difficult to grasp. He hoped there was some sequential order of arrangement or progression of the information, but found this was not the case. Many of the sections contained numerical calculations, abstract figures and graphs too difficult for him to decipher. Rick rubbed his temples, still reading, perplexed, feeling as if he were reading a series of carefully devised riddles or clues to something refusing to provide any answers. The hours passed, and Rick continued to dig deeper. He became fully immersed in studying the different topics, most of which were unfamiliar. The Georgia Guidestones, the Montauk Project, a conspiracy relating to the Denver International Airport and NASA, DARPA, HARP, the U.S. Department of Energy, and other compartmentalized government agencies, and even the Vatican. One of the files contained specific information predicting the collapse of the American dollar and the global market, which would lead to violence and martial law. Reading further, Rick absorbed more and more of the contents. Considering the sociological impact of the ideas within the documents and the effect they could have made Rick begin to feel unwell. He had to stop, overwhelmed by the disturbing doom and gloom implications of it all. The VERTICON File by Brian Weimer. Read by Gene Rowley.